In the dusty pages of history, a legend whispered from ear to ear throughout the ages circulates. The legend of the Emerald Tablets of Thoth the Atlantean, an ancient text believed to tell us the most fundamental secrets of the universe, the key to immortality and divine knowledge from pre-Diluvian times. For generations, alchemists, philosophers, mystery hunters, and even those considered the founders of modern science have pursued this text, hoping to reach the ultimate and true knowledge they believed was hidden within its lines. So where does the truth of the Emerald Tablets lie? Is this mysterious knowledge truly real, as many belief systems claim? Or is it merely a deception? And perhaps more importantly, how can a source of information whose existence is so debated become the greatest goal of so many people for thousands of years? Together, we will embark on a journey full of mysteries, from the enigmatic lands of ancient Egypt to the vast library of Alexandria, from the mysterious verses of religions to the philosophical approaches of the modern age. And we will discover the secret of these mysterious tablets, said to have been preserved to guide the humanity of the New Age after surviving the destruction of the deluge. Welcome to Find the Truth. At the very top of ancient Egypt's pantheon of gods, we see 9 principal gods and goddesses called the Ennead. These powerful beings are the fundamental pillars of the universe's creation and order, and all of them have various duties in cosmic existence. It would be more accurate to think of these gods not as beings but as concepts. For example, Osiris is death and resurrection, Isis is magic and motherhood, Set is chaos and war, and so on. We still lack knowledge about the earliest origins of ancient Egypt, and some researchers claim it is as old as Sumer. That is almost 8,000 years ago from today. However, as Egypt grew and changed over time, the pantheon of gods also began to become more detailed and proliferate. And about 5,000 years ago, a great god, different from these 9 main creator gods, concepts, with more human-like abilities emerges. Thoth the Great, the god of the moon, wisdom, writing, science, and magic. One of Egypt's continuously longest worshipped and respected gods. Thoth's origin remains a mystery even within Egypt's own beliefs. Although it is claimed in later kingdom periods that he was one of the 9 members of the Ennead, looking at older periods, it is believed that he was created or initiated into his role by the sun god Ra. Keep this information in mind. Thoth, depicted with the head of an ibis bird as a symbol of wisdom, had the main duty of recording the messages, wishes, and shared knowledge of the gods, and acting as an intermediary between the heavens and the earth. A kind of intermediary between gods and creations. Now, I told you to specifically keep this symbolism in mind, because here we need to approach things a little differently. If we just call Thoth a god and move on, we would discard many potential features of the story. Let's recall Thoth's characteristics. A being who records knowledge, transmits it, mediates between gods and the earth, that is, creations, that is, humans, and facilitates communication. And what do we call people who do this today? Prophets, right? According to belief, they are either those who receive revelation from the Creator or those who spread that knowledge to people. Remember that according to some researchers, Thoth was later deified. There's a big question mark here too. In my previous videos, I explained with real examples how many prophets and sages of ancient times were symbolically declared demigods and even gods over time. The most well-known of these was probably Apollonius of Tyana, exaggeratedly portrayed to us as Jesus. While he was a sage, he became a demigod over time. After his death, he was declared a god, a very good example of the idolatrous nature of human beings. Just like in our country, some ignorant people have started calling a certain person a prophet, it's the same logic. Unfortunately, people do not change easily. We see this nuance in Thoth's evolution as well. First, he is someone not in the pantheon of gods. Then he appears as the scribe of wisdom, science, magic, that is, divine knowledge. He mediates this knowledge between gods and humans, and then he becomes a god. But his story doesn't end there. This ancient god of sciences in Egypt continues his journey through history by appearing as Hermes in ancient Greece. Hermes, whom I mentioned in the Melchizedek video. In Greek mythology, Hermes' duty, like Thoth's, is to facilitate communication between gods and humans, and to convey the gods' messages and will to people. Once again, the prophet motif. But at the same time, Hermes' greatest feature is being the founder and teacher of Hermeticism, an ancient belief system. Now, when we talk about an esoteric belief system within well-known religions, some might think these are empty beliefs. But as I insistently say, even very well-known religions are fundamentally united under the concept of a single creative power. And Hermeticism is one of the best examples of this. Thousands of years before ancient Greece, this ancient philosophical belief, which was one of the fundamental philosophies of Egypt's occult teachings, speaks to us of the unity of all created things in the cosmos, the symbolic meanings of matter and spirit, duality, and divine systems like death and rebirth, building its main backbone on the philosophy of as above, so below. And this ancient philosophy has, over time, shaped the philosophies of monotheistic religions and formed the basis of what we call modern Western philosophy. And some even claim it laid the foundation for modern science. Thus, the information taught by the Egyptian god Thoth and later by Hermes Trismegistus, who is said to be one of the three great sages and again deified and described as being written on the ancient emerald tablets, eventually merged with myths, lost its essence with symbols, and the narratives about the origin of the emerald tablets began to turn into a legend in the misty pages of history. But this does not stop those who seek the truth, and they constantly continue to search for this legendary pre-Diluvian source of knowledge and its message. And it seems some succeed in finding its fragments. Between 356 and 323 BC, in just 36 years, a name that changed the world began to research the oldest and most secret mysteries of this planet. Alexander the Great, King of Macedon. As Alexander understood that the origins of ancient Greek wisdom were born in the Western world during his epic journey from west to east, he began to search for the legends mentioned in Hermes' teachings and to build an empire founded on those teachings. Thus, Hellenistic culture transformed into a synthesis between East and West. The most prominent example of this goal was the city of Alexandria, which Alexander ordered to be founded in his own name and was truly intended to be a port bridge between East and West. At the heart of this ancient city, built with urban planning ahead of its time, was its most precious treasure, the Library of Alexandria. Thanks to thousands of parchments brought by scholars from all corners of the empire and by traders, the ancient wisdom of the past began to create the modern age. Philosophy, physics, mathematics, biology, and tens of thousands of other works illuminated the path of future revolutionaries and sages for centuries, spreading the philosophy of unity and enlightenment, which is at the core of Hermetic teaching, to the world, until it was first destroyed by internal strife by Rome and then burned by radical Christian groups, who called them devilish inventions and knowledge of the pagan age. They say that modern civilization was able to continue its progress thanks to the parchments rescued from the Library of Alexandria. Probably a saying to explain how great the lost knowledge was. But one cannot help but wonder, if this temple and many others, burned by ignorant religious fanatics for no reason, and be sure all religions did this to each other to erase the past, not just Abrahamic religions. If these lost libraries and archives had survived, who knows what level of culture the world would be at today? Just thinking about it makes one sad, and the fact that they supposedly carried out these destructions in the name of gods, or Allah, or the Lord, makes matters even more tragic. In this period of scientific discontinuity brought about by this destruction, the works rescued from the library began to spread throughout the world and shed light on other curious people under the governance of empires and states that were more stable at the time. And we begin to encounter some books with interesting and mysterious origins. There is a book secretly hidden during the Dark Ages, which began with the collapse of Rome. This is the Kitab Sir al-Khalika, or the Book of the Secret of Creation, written in Arabic in the 8th or 9th century. This is actually a translated book, and its original author is said to be named Balunus. Pay attention to this name, it will get much deeper in a moment. The link to the book will be in the description, but I want to read the passage about the emerald tablets in it. When I entered the underground tomb, I discovered the emerald tablet held in the hands of Hermes. Upon it was inscribed, "That which is above is as that which is below, and that which is below is as that which is above. All things arise from a single source and develop from a single plan." You can search for and find various books written by Balinus on this Hermetic knowledge and ancient monotheistic belief under his Arabic name. But if you truly want to know him, I need to give you his real name, not his Arabic equivalent, Apollonius of Tyana. Yes, the great sage Apollonius, whose life I talked about in my Jesus video, whose life and knowledge Rome stole, tried to kill, and ultimately created the character they call Jesus, likely inspired by him. I especially recommend watching that video. The link is in the description. Another important person who tells us about the Emerald Tablets and the traces of the wisdom it carries is the great scholar Jabir ibn Hayyan. In his works such as Kitab al-Zura and Kitab al-Sabin, Jabir makes references to both Hermetic alchemy and the knowledge of this philosophical belief. In the book Sir al-Asrar, or The Secret of Secrets, said to have been written in Baghdad 100 years later, we again see Hermetic knowledge, including information on astronomy, political philosophy, the secrets of the universe, and humanity's place. And this book became extremely popular in medieval Europe, playing a major role in spreading the legend of the Emerald Tablets in the Western world. Thanks to many other works translated, compiled, and developed by Eastern scholars living in similar periods, the Hermetic knowledge saved from the destruction of Alexandria began to extend westwards again. Of course, we should also not overlook that Islamic Sufism also began to develop under the influence of both this Hermetic knowledge and Buddhism, which is also said to have developed from these ancient Vedic beliefs. That is the philosophy based on the essence of religion, not its symbols. As the wisdom of the Emerald Tablets began to escape the ignorance of the Dark Ages, we witnessed the birth of the Renaissance with the light spread by it and similar ancient knowledge. And ancient wisdom triggers a completely different breakthrough, and we witness the birth of modern science. Undoubtedly, one of the greatest founders of modern physics is Isaac Newton, a genius who laid the foundations of physics in gravity, optics, advanced mathematics, and many other branches. However, this genius insisted on emphasizing a concept, prisca sapientia, or ancient wisdom. According to this approach, which Newton also believed in, individuals like Hermes, Pythagoras, and some ancient prophets and sages actually explained that universal, essential knowledge and science from God to humanity. However, this knowledge was corrupted and forgotten by people over time. With this approach, Newton personally translated, read, and researched many ancient texts into English, trying to combine ancient wisdom and philosophy with modern science. Do not understand this as meaning that the mathematical formulas of gravity were written in those texts. Here, the point is an approach based on developing science by being inspired by, guided by, and sometimes even basing it on those ideas, like the atomic theory. And Newton is not the only example. Robert Boyle, one of the founders of modern chemistry, modernized alchemical methods in ancient writings, especially Hermetic texts like Corpus Hermeticum, with scientific methods, and in his own words, brought modern chemistry into our lives by using science to search for God. The famous psychologist Carl Jung conducted intensive research on the unity underlying Hermetic belief and the symbolic development of the human spirit as described in Alchemy, combining them with modern psychology. Let's take Johannes Kepler. While he was formulating planetary orbits and many other astronomical systems, he stated that he made his discoveries based on the wisdom and writings of Pythagoras, who was educated in the Hermetic schools of ancient Egypt. We can multiply the examples. Scientists like Erwin Schrödinger, Niels Bohr, and Werner Heisenberg, leading researchers in quantum physics, have repeatedly stated that they were inspired by ancient Eastern philosophies. In short, by disregarding the wisdom of the past, by bypassing the past, and by pushing away these concepts, including Hermeticism, with the back of our hand, we would be looking at only a glass of water while there is an entire ocean to explore. And we cannot truly progress. This must absolutely not be forgotten. However, there is also a dark side to this, and behind it are not hidden sciences in those books. Unfortunately, as always, it's people. Claude Dawkins, born in Oklahoma, USA, in the early 20th century, whom some of you may also know as Maurice Doreal, founded a cult called the Brotherhood of the White Temple in Colorado in the 1930s. Doreal told his followers that he found the Emerald Tablets written by the great priest king Thoth of Atlantis, who lived tens of thousands of years ago during a journey to the Great Pyramid in Egypt in 1925, and that he somehow translated them. Doreal even wrote several books in the 1930s that supposedly contain these translations. And as you might guess, he became rich thanks to people who chose to believe everything without questioning. According to Doreal, who claimed to be a member of a belief known as Theosophy, which blends Eastern and Western beliefs and is woven with more esoteric approaches, Thoth was actually a wise king who lived in Atlantis in pre-Diluvian times. And after the collapse of Mu in Atlantis, he went to the newly established Egyptian civilization, began to teach the ancient knowledge there, and was eventually transformed into a deity. Actually, Doreal was a clever man. He really did his historical research and based his conclusions on a very logical foundation, just like we do today. But he did it without the internet and with limited resources. We have to give him credit for that. But let's get to the part that turned into personal gain and caused great misunderstanding in popular culture. His book, The Emerald Tablets Translations, written in the 1930s, gained widespread attention in America, and his cult rapidly grew. Maurice Doreal was far more than a mere charlatan. As I said before, he was someone who had done his research very well, and he had turned them into books with extremely good storytelling. For example, he wrote so well about visiting the secret kingdom of Shambhala, taken underground by these Atlanteans on the mysterious Mount Shasta in 1931, and meeting the reptilian races there and learning this ancient history from them, that even today many people continue to present these largely untrue and convoluted mysteries as real, based on the stories he laid the foundation for. The bad part about this is that Doreal and similar individuals press so many buttons at the same time to strengthen their narrative that in the end, it becomes unclear what is true and what is false. And generally, people either believe all of it or dismiss all of it with a "what is this nonsense" attitude. In this channel, I try my best to present it to you by clearing up this disinformation tangle, at least a little. Because even though these people might be exaggerating, there are undeniable truths behind it that are rooted in solid foundations in the history of civilizations. For example, the legend of the Emerald Tablets. It is unknown how true or false it is, but it is a fact that an ancient teaching identified with Thoth, Hermes, and even the prophet Enoch has been taught and preserved in special esoteric schools for thousands of years. From Pythagoras to Plato, from Buddha to, according to some accounts, the prophet Muhammad. Yes, that is also a very interesting and extreme historical topic. This knowledge was somehow transferred to the sages and revolutionaries of the time across a wide geography, and they, in turn, caused significant breakthroughs in humanity's journey. In other words, even if people like Maurice Doreal, who declare themselves prophets, corrupt and muddle the matter for their own benefit, there are undeniable truths behind this information. The real journey is to research these truths. Let's take alchemy, one of the most important symbols of Hermetic wisdom. You can also view this as the art of turning ordinary metals into gold, like those strange people today. And they will probably sell you dozens of strange products. Or you can read books on this topic, of which I just gave a few examples, and see how the scholars of that time approached it. If you choose that difficult path, you will understand that what alchemy actually tries to turn into gold is not a metal, but symbolically, your soul. And this path leads you not to a material endeavor, but to a spiritual ascent. Hermetism is indeed an important philosophy, and no one knows how many thousands of years its origins date back. But we see its effects from the very beginning of civilization to the philosophy of unity and oneness in today's Abrahamic religions. Therefore, without forgetting that almost everything in history is interconnected, we must not proceed by either completely believing everything or rejecting everything. Only in this way can we find the truths behind intertwined concepts and symbols. And only in this way will we understand the philosophy of as above, so below, meaning all is one, both religiously and scientifically, and begin to look at life with completely different eyes. Thank you all for watching. Hermetism is truly a very deep subject. I hope the video has stimulated your curiosity to do more research. I will also share some resources with you in the description. You can check there. See you in the next video. Take care.